taking a week off.
You don't get it, John.
I don't. What do you need a week off?
Do you hear what Mulaney
like half your?
Did you hear the job
What
Mulaney just took? He's just going to be a writer on Seth Meyers.
I mean, that makes sense. He used to write for him on. Wait,
he's just going to do
a downgrade.
It was pitched as he just likes working, and there's nothing to do, so he's going to be a writer. And he did a write. He did a bit
things he could do.
But he's in New York, and he likes just walking down the street. I like walking down the street. I don't like being in my house. I saunter down the street, get in an elevator, push a button. Goes up.
Shut up. We missed a big opportunity here because if we had just used a picture of John Mulaney and I had started the show saying my guest today is John Mulaney, I think 30% of the audience would have believed it based on that impression.
Hello, John. How are you today?
Okay, you're losing it, but it was good before.
Fine. I've got stuff in my throat, John. He did a bit that was, he was dressed like an old-timey detective, essentially, in a trench coat.
I assume he always dresses like that.
He talked about the ghost vote.
I don't know that one, but
everybody's always saying, "Oh, I could feel the presence of John Lewis and John McCain," but they don't really mean it. Why? I think ghosts actually voted this time around. Just go through with believing it.
When did he do this?
Yesterday. I think. I don't know. However long ago it took to get to my Reddit feed.
That's true. Everything comes from Reddit. I have an idea though. Rather than SNL taking a week off, how about they give Jim Carrey and Maya Rudolph a week off and have the cast do one of the shows to mix it up? They could like go halvesies, like 1 week it's Jim Carrey, 1 week it's the cast of SNL.
How mad would you be if you were on SNL and you were like, I came here to maybe be the future of impressions.
Yeah.
And you just don't get to be.
Wait, so which category is most pissed off? Are you most pissed off if you are one of the 3 new people that never get a second of screen time? Or are you more pissed off if you're like Chris Redd, who's been in the cast for a couple of years and now, or like Melissa Villaseñor, who's been in the cast for a couple of years, and you don't get a goddamn second of screen time? Which is more pissed off in this case?
I feel like Chris Redd is slightly more pissed off than Villaseñor because she has a niche.
Weekend Update. Yeah. Which is something. But like the newbies, they got that call. You're gonna be on SNL, and they're like, "This is what I've been waiting for," but nothing. And then if you're not Kate McKinnon or Beck, you are not getting moments.
I can't think of an era where there was this much seniority for this long.
Sure. Well, but also some of the seniors like Cecily Strong and A.D. Bryant, who've been around for like 7 years, they're off shooting shows. It would be even more senior if they weren't doing that.
What? What do you mean?
I find it frustrating.
They're still around, but like Kenan Thompson's been there for
20 years. But they're not
years.
around this season. Like they're off doing other stuff. That would make me even more mad. Imagine you're one of the new people. 2 of the people who've been sticking around forever aren't even around, and you still can't get up.
You used to have to make a decision. Now it's like, we're having Maya Rudolph back. Go sow your royal oats.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Kenan is there. They could have Kenan in every single role, and I will always love it. He's the most delightful human on the face of the earth.
He's figured it out.
There's some people, and honestly, not to put you in a good mood before we start, but there's some people like when I initially met you where it's like just anything they say is gonna be funny. Like it's not even a joke, it's just funny. They're being funny, and he is like that.
Yeah, thank you. And I need about 15 seconds to thank you, but apparently we only have 10, so I won't.
Okay. Welcome everyone as we close out another hell week in 2020. And you know what, why not? Let's have it be Friday the 13th. But anyway, despite how bad things have been, and there is a little bit of bad news in this, we do have some good news, and that good news is that we've got Brett Erlich. How's it going, Brett?
Oh, it's so good, John. It's a good day to be around. You know, it's a good day to be on. Apparently, according to my phone that just started vibrating, I'm supposed to be on damage report right now, so that's good.
Yeah, you just reminded me to turn off my Bluetooth so that my earbuds don't get my next phone call. Anyway, no, it is good to have you here. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. We got garbage people coming up. Nobody knows this because it was before the show, but we've been talking a little bit about SNL. That was fun, a little bit of comedy for you.
Yep.
Anyway,
and the fun continues this evening on the Young Turks network. After main show, we have a happy half hour with viral internet star Kylie Brakeman, who you should go to Dead-Eyed Brakeman on Twitter and watch her videos where she like does those frantic, well-edited videos of her like being a Trump bot.
You know, I did not know that person's name, but I've definitely watched some of their videos.
Yeah, she's on. She's great. She's delightful. And then later tonight we have Common Room with myself, Skip, Bart, and Edwin. So it will be the crew takes to the air, and we all take what's ours.
Oh my God, there is a chance that Edwin will laugh, and you'll see it. Like you've heard it in the background for years, like the call of a poltergeist, but now you will see it. That's exciting news. I'm very glad to hear that.
We should do a segment called Coultergeist. It's Ann Coulter.
I
don't know. She doesn't make
about her. That's funny, but I don't want to talk about her.
She's just the reason I did that. The reason I said that, John, full disclosure, is I was picturing Laura Ingraham because I still can't tell them apart. And I was like, oh, it could happen every night. No, that's a completely different, same person.
Yeah, throw a little bit of Kellyanne Conway in there and Kate McKinnon, and I don't know exactly where one stops. And anyway, okay, so there is a lot that we're gonna be talking about today, including you're gonna want to stick around to the end where we have our garbage people of the week. That's always fun. We also have a little bit of fun along the way. But for those of you who are already watching, feel free to hit the like button, share the stream, and continue commenting and super chatting, sending us tweets and all of that, and we'll be responding as we go. With all of that said, there's a lot to get to. So Brett, what do you say? Why don't we launch into this thing?
Let's do.
Throughout this week, we've been talking about the possibility that Donald Trump might be on the precipice of instituting some pardons. It's sort of tradition, you know, when a president's about to leave, they pardon a bunch of people. And it can go in a few different ways. It can be mildly corrupt or it can be really corrupt. And so we've been waiting to find out this president, which way he's gonna go. And we do have a little bit of reason to think that it's gonna be pretty widespread. In the past, remember, you might have forgotten about some of these, I did. In the past, he's pardoned people like Joe Arpaio, Dinesh D'Souza, Michael Milken. These are people who he knows from being on Fox News or writing books about him, and they like him, so he gives them pardons regardless of what their crimes are. That's fun. In the future, though, it might be people with more close ties to him, as you'll see with this appearance by Jamie Gangel on CNN.
I think one of the things we need to do is, he is still in fight mode, so I don't know whether he has focused on presidential pardons yet. But what we do know is that if you just look at his Twitter feed for the last couple of years, there are people around him who he may very well pardon. Just looking at some of the people who were targeted in the Mueller investigation: Michael Flynn, George Papadopoulos, Paul Manafort, Alan Weisselberg, who's the accountant, Rudy Giuliani, Roger Stone, and also a name that's been mentioned a lot is Jared Kushner's father, Charlie Kushner. But as you said, Pamela, the real question is, will he, in the end, take a serious look at pardoning himself? There are a couple of things to keep in mind. He can only do that, theoretically, it's never been tested, for federal crimes, not for state crimes. But I want to read to you what a former administration official told CNN, that Trump has been asking about pardons since 2017. And here's a quote. Once he learned about it, he was obsessed with the power of pardons and used to ask about it all the time. He loved the notion of having power and doing favors.
I think probably less focused on the doing favors than using it to get favors, but sure, yes, that whole thing was very sad. But Brett, so we have other people he might pardon as well as him. He's apparently concerned about existing investigations that could be waiting for him in New York, but the potential for new federal probes as well. I personally think that those are far less likely, but there are investigations that are already going on, some of which have advanced a little bit, some of the sex assault cases in just the last week or so. So what do you think about this? How likely do you rate him pardoning his close associates and goons and even perhaps himself and his family?
The ability to pardon yourself feels real weird, especially given the Constitution is set up with checks and balances on the government. And one of the three branches of our government is the executive branch, headed up by the president. You would think there would be some kind of check against that. Also, wouldn't you have to be convicted before you pardon yourself? It's not like asking for Grey Poupon, where you say pardon me first and then you do it. Like you should only be able to pardon things that you've already been convicted of. Otherwise, why wouldn't you say like blanket pardon and then just go start killing people? Like that doesn't seem. Yeah. I think the pardon in general is insane to me, but I understand ways it's been used before because I think presidents and parts of the executive branch do the job of essentially setting priorities for the Justice Department. For example, it is still federally illegal to do marijuana stuff, but Obama essentially said, I'm not gonna prioritize that very much right now. So we're not gonna pursue a lot of that prosecution and litigation. But in this sense, like, you can't just say, I think I'm gonna pardon myself. Like he absolutely will pardon his close associates. Pretty much every president has, and we just go like, good to be the king. But in this situation, pardoning yourself is insane. But the last like very troubling thing is when the reporter said he's been obsessed about it since he found out about it in 2017. Like someone who is that in charge of America theoretically to just be finding out things about America that most everyone else knows.
Yeah, no, like we're gonna find out that in like March 2019, he was quoted as saying, wait, you're telling me there's a nuke in that briefcase? Like he has no idea about any of this.
I thought it was a football.
Exactly. I really did. I think they might be trying to convince him it's a literal football to make it less likely that he'll want to touch it because of the implications of exercise. Yeah, so look, we're gonna have a little bit on the potential legality of it in a second. It does seem wrong. I sort of get it, but it feels like the most king thing in our system. It's like that's one bit of, you're an emperor basically for this one thing. Everything else supposedly there's limitations. Also, there might be one sort of baked in limitation to Donald Trump. Former aides to Trump are split on whether Trump would consider giving himself a pardon. Some see it as a near certainty, saying of course he will, while others believe it's unlikely because doing so would imply that he's guilty of something. Look, I get it that those are people that supposedly know him, and it's not like there isn't sort of some sense to that, but I feel like he could message his way around that. Yeah, he doesn't want to look like a loser, but he also doesn't want to go to jail. And I feel like if those two things are being weighed, I think I know where he's gonna come out on that.
Yeah, I still am having trouble with the idea of him pardoning himself just in general, implying he's guilty of something. Wouldn't you have to be found guilty of it? And then also, aren't there?
Apparently not.
In various cases I've seen written that he can't pardon people of a state crime, only a federal crime.
True.
So various outstanding investigations into like state tax fraud could incriminate him on a state level that's outside his reach, and very well within the reach of the Cuomo bros.
Yeah, so what you would more likely see is pardons of all of his associates in the White House, and just him writing an executive order that's like 2 sentences of, You can't get me for any of that Mueller stuff if you keep investigating it. And then everyone will pretend that that's not him admitting that he obstructed justice as well as other things. But we do have a little bit more on this, so let's turn to this now. Obviously, Donald Trump is apparently obsessed with the idea of pardons, but will he pardon himself? Could he pardon himself? Is it actually legal? It turns out it depends on who you talk to. If you talk to him, you'll be shocked to find out that he thinks it is. He tweeted way back in 2018, like 3 months after he found out about presidential pardons, as has been stated by numerous legal scholars, I have the absolute right to pardon myself. But why would I do that when I've done nothing wrong? In the meantime, the never-ending witch hunt led by 13 very capital angry and capital conflicted Democrats and others continues into the midterms. So why would you tweet that if you've done nothing wrong? That's really weird. Like that is an admission, I think. And we've all sort of glossed over it, but he's been committed to the idea for several years now that if he wanted to, he could pardon himself. And in the theory, at least, you can pardon people not just for things they've already been investigated for or convicted of, but theoretically, preemptively. You can actually do that. The more interesting question is, could he do it himself? And we're gonna get to that. This is just a really funny quote I just gotta give you. One former official said that Trump was so fascinated by his pardon powers that senior level officials would sometimes bring up their research on the matter just to get Trump off another subject they wanted to steer away from.
Oh my God.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. That like they know, like all that is I don't have my keys, but that's all it is. It's just dangling keys for a dog. That's what that is.
I can't. I'm so glad it's theoretically so close to over that this is just gonna go away. Okay, so I want to go back to that tweet. That tweet, I disagree that it's necessarily everything he does is an admission that he has done something wrong. It's very obvious, but I think that the way to justify this tweet is to say like I didn't do anything wrong, but even if your witch hunt renders me convicted, it's not going to work anyway because I have more power. So sorry, and that resonates with his base, whatever. But it is absolutely true, and everyone knows it. And even the people that pretend they don't notice it understands that Trump, if you just tell him how powerful he is, then that's the end of the discussion. He's happy again. And that's tracking with all the reporting we're seeing about his utter loss in the election, is that people are trying to keep him from realizing that. And it seems like they've done a pretty good job. And there have been reports that if you say Biden, you get fired, and he freaks out, so they just don't say it.
Yeah. Now, as to the legality, which I think is substantive, it's not the most fun part of this, but it's the most important part. I'm gonna jump ahead just a little bit, Brandon. The Justice Department looked at the question in the Nixon era and concluded it wasn't within the president's power to pardon himself. Quote, under the fundamental rule that no one may be a judge in his own case, the president cannot pardon himself, the Office of Legal Counsel wrote back in August 1974. And there's been some stuff out of the Supreme Court recently that theoretically, having to do with some of the challenges he's already faced, indicates that they might agree with that. But I think it's an indication of that we are moving into uncharted really waters, at least by the ultimate judge, which would be the Supreme Court weighing on this, which they have not through the history of the United States. That I've had guests on that have said, no, he totally can just say, I'm free and clear of anything coming from the federal government. And I had David K. Johnston on yesterday who was like, no, you obviously can't do that, it's settled. It's settled in the Justice Department as of 50 years ago, and maybe the Supreme Court wouldn't allow it because that does seem insane. But we have an insane Supreme Court, and so I don't know. Maybe we'll end up finding out. The first step would be him pardoning himself, and that would happen sometime in the next 60 days or so.
But there is an extra little wrinkle to the process itself, John, and that is Trump using litigation as a way to buy time until he dies. And that's what's happened. And if you look at all his lawsuits surrounding voter impropriety and fraud, like he is right at that line because he has no actual case. So there is no actual case that will go into litigation. He needs to find a case that won't be dismissed. If you look at all the analyses of what he's putting before courts, he is on that line where most of it is so ridiculous, it's been dismissed. And his solution isn't to have it accepted, and he knows it won't go through and be found in his favor in courts. He just needs to get in that litigation, and he'll stay there. And he has a never-ending supply of funds to pay for his legal support, because he is taking the first $8,000 of every donation to his PAC and lining his own pockets. That's what's happening. That is the machine. That's how he has functioned forever. That's what we're experiencing here. That's what we'll experience in pardons. That's what we're experiencing in the electoral process. And that's what everyone who's ever done, been contracted by him to build a building or give him a loan. That's what they've all experienced. His way of tying things up in court to buy himself time, and then using grift to fund everything from legal fees to his extravagant lifestyle.
Yeah. All the incentives are set up for him to do the worst things that benefit himself. Now, before we move on to other news, and there is a lot of other news, we're gonna read a few super chats and comments. With the first coming today from Chakuseki, who says, beware the upcoming Million Karen March, all of them desperately searching Washington, D.C. to speak with the manager and overturn the election. That's a good super chat. Obviously, the reality is a little bit potentially more worrisome. There is the possibility that there could be some sort of violence, but we're gonna be talking about that.
Half of that name is what my Korean friends taught me to say. That's a curse.
What's that?
That name of that. Yeah, keep saying it. I don't know.
I don't know what it means. Chakuseki super chats quite a bit.
The second half was in everything they wanted me to say. The first half changed.
Oh God. Zane to Magic Puffer Dragon says, that name keeps changing. Morning Dragon Daddy, I'm running for Congress against Kevin McCarthy next cycle. Any thoughts on strategy against a liar? I mean, really, it doesn't have much to do with running against Kevin McCarthy. Like, you got to be ready for that regardless of what Republican and most Democrats that you run against. But I'll think about it.
I would say change your name to that of a slightly more recognizable Republican.
Just name yourself Zane Trump. You might win. Venetian, thank you for your super chat. Let's see. Damon says, it was 14 degrees in Minnesota when I left for work this morning. I know you guys are cold, so here's some cash for John's sweaters and Brett's firewater. Stay strong and stay warm. Thank you. They've got the read on Brett there. Appreciate that. I'm actually quite warm. I was wearing a hoodie on my way here. I just assembled last night my new bicycle. I rode it here. I'm wearing multiple layers underneath. I'm wearing some of my gear from the Arctic. And so I am burning up right now in my lower body. Almost as much as Matt Gaetz when he looks at Tiffany Trump's Instagram.
Grody.
Anyway, Sophia Lambert says, claiming wisdom dragon. Keep up the great work, Dragon Squad. That's a good one, I like that. Yarmul says, keep up the good progressive fight. Have an awesome weekend, Yarmul, you as well. And thank you, Dr. Sociology, I appreciate that. Earlier, Obi-Wan Kenobi gifted 20 tier 1 subs. As always, all hail Obi-Wan Kenobi. Roy Sturr gifted one as well, and Kelly June, thank you for that, very much appreciate it. There's a Twitch comment from the Uber Gardener who says, on this Friday the 13th, never forget Matt Gaetz is a tool, 100% for so many reasons, some of which we're gonna be talking about in a little bit. So let's move on to this next topic. Pretty much every day we see a couple of the voter fraud related conspiracy theories get knocked down, but they've got an endless well of them. So now we've got a new one to talk about, and it has to do with Dominion election software, with people like Donald Trump tweeting, in all caps, mind you, report, Dominion deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. Data analysis finds 221,000 Pennsylvania votes switched from President Trump to Biden, 941,000 Trump votes deleted. States using Dominion voting systems switched 435,000 votes from Trump to Biden. And this is coming to you via OANN. And shockingly, it turns out all of that is wrong. It's not even internally consistent. What happened with the votes? Because every one of those numbers has a lot of overlap with the other numbers, but the numbers are all very different. I don't know what they're claiming, but basically, big numbers, Trump wins. That's all that is. And he was thanking Sean Hannity for the takedown of the horrible, inaccurate, and anything but secure Dominion voting system, where tens of thousands of votes were stolen. But wait, I thought it was 435,000 votes. Those tweets are on the same day. They have no idea what their conspiracy theory even is, but they know it's something Dominion, and Dominion sounds kind of scary. So you just say it, And I guarantee there are 20 million Americans who think Dominion stole the election. They don't know what it is or what happened, but they know that that happened at the very least.
This
Brett.
Old Dominion state. It's like that's Pennsylvania's the old Dominion state. That's why.
And it's confusing, man, because it might be Virginia. So he's tweeting about Dominion, but he also he has to have his cake but eat it in a logical way. So he also tweeted this morning, for years the Dems have been preaching how unsafe and rigged our elections have been. Now they are saying what a wonderful job the Trump administration did in making 2020 the most secure election ever. Actually, this is true, except for what the Democrats did. Rigged election. So dude, you've been telling us millions of votes were deleted and switched, but you also want credit for the most secure election ever, but it was also rigged and stolen from you.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't make sense. But what do we expect out of this guy? It is very obvious. Actually, what he's doing is in line with what he's done since the start of all this voting. It's to say the things that are good for me are true. The things that are bad for me are fraud and lies and fake. Yeah. And that's it. I will read you a quote from an analyst who said, I looked into it. With that Dominion software, 5 counties in Michigan and Georgia had problems. And the Dominion software was used in 2 of the counties. And in every instance, largely it was human error, a problem. But the software did not affect the vote counts. You know who said that? Steve Doocy on Fox and Friends. So Fox and Friends is like, listen, it did not affect the vote count. And I think this is what everyone should be focused on right now, the dominant electoral strategy. If you look at the left has this divide between, and there's 3 different versions of it. The more you zoom into what the left is, the far, the progressive side is doing. But there is a rift between establishment Dems and progressives. That's what everyone wants you to focus on, and that's what everyone wants you to talk about. On the right, there isn't. They're on the right, as far as everyone knows, the senators are in lockstep with Trump and the people in the House of Representatives, and the only people who are defecting from that were Democrats the whole time. All those Ben Sasses who are angling to bring back the oppressive establishment. But everyone else, even Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, they're all smart enough to realize that you should embrace your base.
Yeah.
But what's happening right now, the major liability there is Trump's relationship with Fox News. And everyone needs to point out every time that Fox News goes against Trump, because you have to create that wedge. Because what's Trump gonna do? He's gonna go start his own news network. And everyone should encourage that to happen. Because right now you have the left-leaning folks, you just have, everyone thinks it's CNN and MSNBC, and it's all this weird area where everybody's fighting with each other. On the right, they should be fighting with each other. Why? Because if you're a MAGA person, every senator kept their job. More establishment House of Representatives candidates used the MAGA crew to get a securer place in government. And what are they trying to do right now? Those senators are in a really weird place where if they acknowledge that Trump lost, now they're embracing reality, but they also are going against MAGA. Good.
Yeah.
Everyone should be messaging for them to embrace reality because it's reality. And then once they do that, go tell MAGA, listen, everybody abandoned your boy. That's how you have to dissolve that weird coalition between MAGA and everyone else. And this is one little area where we have the opportunity to do it. Ducey just turned on you. Go rebrand OANN, TANN, the Tandass News Network.
Okay, I have a little bit of breaking Twitter news that goes to what you're saying. I'm gonna turn to that in a second, but as you started to talk about what actually happened with Dominion, I feared that our producer, who did a great job of researching and creating graphics to demonstrate that point, are worried that it wasn't gonna be used. So I'm gonna use a little bit of it just so that their time wasn't wasted. But anyway, statement emailed to reporters by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which, as you'll see when I read the graphic, is probably gonna be shut down in a day, said there is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. The November 3rd election was the most secure in American history. Dominion voting systems, which does admittedly sound scary, said in a statement that it denies claims about any vote switching or alleged software issues with our voting systems. It just isn't there. There's human error. And there's, by the way, human error in counties that use Dominion and counties that didn't use Dominion. And what didn't happen is that tens of thousands of votes were switched, or the 150,000 votes that you would need in Michigan. That just doesn't actually exist. It didn't happen. And so you will hear a lot about Dominion for the next 2 days or so, until Trump actually has to go to court over Dominion, and his lawyers who don't want to lose their license are gonna have to say, we actually have no evidence that any votes were switched. And then it'll go away and it'll be replaced by something else. How many different theories have we been through in the last 9 days or so? Every day there's a new one. They're gonna lose interest in this almost immediately.
Well, there's Sharpiegate that went away, and yesterday it was reported that one of the lawyers in that case used as a witness his business partner. It's like,
yeah.
Oh my God, where'd you find that sworn friend of yours? And now 2 separate major law firms have abandoned Trump. They're like, this guy's too toxic even for us, and we're lawyers.
Exactly. Now, Brett was just talking about how Steve Doocy has turned on Donald Trump. It's Fox versus Trump. We've got an update on that. Someone who is apparently very close with Trump and has insider information about what Trump is doing and more importantly, what he will do. So this is a tweet that was sent out by Geraldo Rivera, who says, just had heartfelt phone call with friend real Donald Trump, who said he's a realist who will do the right thing. I love that he put that in quotation marks. But he wants to see what states do in terms of certification. He sounded committed to fighting for every vote, and if he loses, talking more about all that he's accomplished, which definitely sounds like Donald Trump. Yeah, he'll do the right thing. He's a realist, not deluded at all. But so Geraldo apparently just got off the phone this morning with Trump, and Trump is saying that inevitably he is going to concede. He just wants to see what happens. I don't know, Brett, what do you think about that? Is there any chance that that's true? And is Trump talking with Geraldo on the phone?
Yeah. That's the short answer. Yes, he's talking with Geraldo on the phone. It's exactly who I imagine everyone he talks to needs to be, as when you close your eyes and think about it, as ridiculous as Geraldo having a conversation. Go ahead, caller. I don't know if people watch Geraldo,
so,
but he's talking to Geraldo, and that's exactly what's happening.
The divide. Yeah.
But what's the timeline? I saw that the timeline was he got off the phone with Geraldo and then went and did the tweet that you read earlier.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that then what Geraldo wants us to believe is that Trump is doing that, sure, but he is actually a realist. That is sort of performative or a Hail Mary, but he's not actually intending to barricade the White House or whatever.
No, that's
that, by the way, really fast, because there's 2 issues with that at least. One, if that's actually what Trump is doing, it's awful. Also, if that's actually what Trump is doing, wouldn't Trump be pissed at Geraldo for revealing that on Twitter immediately after getting off the phone with him?
Yes, but theoretically, if you're in the media, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's what Woodward did. Woodward had a heart-to-heart with Trump, which Trump thought was going to be used in a certain context because of Trump's hubris, and it was used a completely other way. And did Trump, after that went out, say, got me there, take me away? No, he did the exact thing that it is really the core of the fundamental misunderstanding people have about Trump. A lot of people are like, he's evil, he's doing all these things, and he's a realist. I mean, that's when you say that, you run the risk of people saying, oh, Trump, he knows this is ridiculous, he's never gonna go through with it. That's not Trump. He knows it's ridiculous and he hopes we go through with it. So do you think that if Trump, I mean, he's Mr. Dominant Strategy. He just goes and says, listen, what should I do? Support the norm, adhere to the perception and the reverence with which previous presidents have treated the peaceful transfer of power and the process of basically not having people throw democracy down the toilet. Everyone else has done that, but Trump is like, yeah, I still want to be president. That's the goal. I always want to be I always want to be in charge and the most popular talked about person in the world. That's the goal. And so, yes, if he can't do it, he won't do it. But there is a fundamental, concept of a portion of American identity is interpreted by some, which is like, just BS your way until you get it. Why wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. And that's what he does. And that's what I think vibes with a lot of people. That's what they see in him that they like, because he's just kind of BSing out there. I want to BS until I get it. And he's throwing all these lawsuits at the judicial system. If one goes through, he'll take it. And and that's why he's asking all these questions. And in the reports in the New York Times, like, it's not really serious. He's just asking about it. I mean, and that ends up manifesting itself in various ways. That thought process manifests itself in, I'm gonna sue put a bunch of crappy lawsuits out there, but it's also, I'm gonna ask, can we nuke a hurricane? He asks the questions. I mean, he's an idiot, but idiots and amazing engineers break everything down into the smallest, simplest little kind of problem they can solve one at a time. Mm-hmm. And that's what he does. Yeah. He just seems like much more of a moron. But then again, he's got the chutzpah and he's trying to shove this through and down your throat, and that's worked for him so far.
So far. Might not keep him in the White House, but I'm sure he'll land on his feet in some way that will continue to annoy us. Okay, before we move on to other news, let's see. We've got a couple super chats we need to address. Let's see. Chub Toad says, gotta love the pre-show 70s porn music. Thanks, Bart. I assume that's Bart. Appreciate it. Kai Allen asks, a little Friday fun. What is your favorite Thanksgiving food? Brett, what's yours?
Oh my God. The wife has this new relatively new recipe that is a sweet potato casserole with like this candied pecan crust on the top, maybe walnuts and pecans, I don't know, but it's just candy.
I make a version of that basically, and that might be my favorite, but I would say my favorite standard Thanksgiving food is stuffing. I could eat a massive bowl of stuffing as that's my Thanksgiving. It's the best food in the universe. I love it so much. Okay, let's see. Tree Frog says, so what are the odds once Biden is sworn in that Fox and other conservative networks say illegitimate president and illegitimate administration every other sentence for the next 4 years? Maybe. I think once Trump, I guess he'll never stop calling Biden that. He'll stop talking about it as much. Yeah, it'll be interesting to say. I don't think that all of them will. I think that some of them, Sean Hannity will probably stick with this going forward. Mark Levin will never accept it. I think some of them will accept it.
They want to equate. So I think you probably mentioned this. Other people have mentioned it too, where it's like they're trying to say that the Democrats never accepted the results of the election last time. Now, are they earnest in that? No, not in any possible way. And as you pointed out, Hillary Clinton called him within 24 hours. That's not it. Yeah. They're trying to say that the ensuing blockage of Trump's agenda, which Republicans are responsible for because they had the majorities in both houses for 2 years. But they want to say that it is the Democrats who have really in their heart of hearts not accepted him as the president and fought against him. Now, when the Republicans do it, they're just protecting the Constitution in the American way. But when Democrats do it, it's because they don't accept the results of the election. And they're gonna say, you did it first, we're not accepting you. Now, where that breaks down is, no, Trump still isn't accepting the results of the election from a scoreboard perspective. Mm-hmm. And those things are wildly different.
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. 100%. Sadako says, don't know if anyone has mentioned it. Shut up. Has mentioned it yet, but chakuseki is Japanese for be seated.
Oh, nice.
I can see how that could have some sort of dirty meaning. I don't know.
What does seki mean in Korean? Someone tell me.
Oh, I can tell you. No, I can't. Katya says, I think he just loves to polarize and have everybody worry. Yeah, I think he likes that too. And really fast, here's a little mini game. We're gonna do it really fast because we got a million stories to do. Next guy, Ryan Pond says, Donnie T has had 3 Sharpie scandals and then lists them. Brett, can you name the 3 Sharpie scandals?
Trump?
Yep.
Sorry, seki
that he's
in
involved.
Korean refers to an animal's child.
Ooh,
there you go.
Okay. What are the 3 Sharpie scandals?
The three Sharpie scandals, as far as I know, are this one, the voting one where they say if you use a Sharpie, your vote doesn't count. The hurricane where he drew in the path of a hurricane with a Sharpie to make it seem like he was right when he said something stupid. I don't know the third one. He's been sniffing a Sharpie nonstop since he took office, and that explains a lot.
We'll find out about that one later. The third one's the most minor. It was when he was at Walter Reed and he wanted to show that he was still hard at work. So he was just like at a table with blank papers and he had scribbled his own name in Sharpie. And that was all the work he could demonstrate in the photo.
Well, then by that, the Sharpie, he is also, we've seen tons of stuff he's written in Sharpie for notes for himself that are like misspelled and stupid.
That's true, that's true. What was it, like perfect phone call or something? There's been a couple of really good ones of those. Okay, so Adrian says that super chat, referring to an earlier one, perhaps we'll get to it, was my first ever, but showing my support here in Toronto, wearing my Dragon Squad tee and TYT Batman all day yesterday and today. Love you guys. That's awesome. Thank you.
And before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to Artesian Builds, who made this computer that I makes this possible. Go to their website. And if you're in the market for a computer or you just want to watch people build computers, they just got partner on Twitch, so that's awesome.
Oh, nice.
But go to Artesian Build's website, use the code TYT at checkout for up to $100 off your new PC build. And this one's glorious and it hauls.
Nice, it hauls. We gotta play some Black Ops Cold War. You gotta get that. We'll play. Or some Warzone. Anyway, before we jump back into the stories, speaking of merch, I did want to let you know I am wearing for the first time the "You're Fired" shirt. And this is, I think, a very historic TYT t-shirt, not only because it commemorates Donald Trump being rejected by the American people, but also because this was designed, I believe, by Carlos, and everybody wanted one. I mean, we were on top of the world here at Dragon Squad. Our shirts, our two shirts were the top selling shirts on the shop. And then Trump lost, and this thing just nuked us from orbit. So I'd like you to do one of two things. If you'd like to remember the election and stick it to Dragon Squad, you can purchase one of these on Shop TYT. Or if you'd like to keep us at least a little bit in the game so that we can still keep our chin up high, maybe go check out the Dragon Squad shirts that are available at Shop TYT. Anyway, good work, Carlos. Finally, Super Solutions over on Twitch said, "Who's hungry and wants a sub?" And then Super Solutions delivered, gifting a tier 1 sub to Big Duke 9. And RoboBlake, thank you for subscribing for the 7th month, almost the entire pandemic. Because it's been longer than that, Jesus. You know what? Talking about the pandemic, why don't we talk about the pandemic actually? There's a lot of really dumb right-wingers out there that want to make sure that you know they've learned absolutely nothing during this pandemic as the numbers continue to go up. Here is Rand Paul and his advice for people who've already gotten infected with the disease.
We have 11 million people in our country who have already had COVID. We should tell them to celebrate. We should tell them to throw away their masks, go to restaurants, live again, because these people are now immune. But Dr. Fauci doesn't want to admit to any of that. Dr. Fauci's like, oh, woe is me, until the election occurs, and now maybe he'll be changing his attitude. But the bottom line is there's a great deal of optimism that we should have out there, not just with the vaccine, but with the immunity that kids may have pre-existing and with the immunity that 11 million people got from having the disease.
Yeah, it's great that 11 million people have already had the disease. Jesus, California's passed 1 million cases. But he says they should throw out their masks and go eat because they already had it. And hey, maybe they can't get it again. I mean, he's only a doctor. He doesn't need to be sure before he tells people to go do that.
He's a doctor and he's giving epidemiology advice like an eye doctor. That's it. Yeah, that's like saying I'm a political scientist. So here, let me design a spacecraft. Like, no, there are certain fundamentals that might apply, like in terms of applying the scientific method, but I have no confidence that Rand Paul, here's what they want you to think. They want you to think that when it comes to having a political agenda, Dr. Fauci has one and Rand Paul doesn't, even though one's just a doctor and the other is a literal politician.
Yeah, Fauci's so biased, honestly. No, you're 100% right. Yeah, Rand Paul, he's not saying you need to go out there and start spending money for any particular reason or anything like that. And someone pointed out in Twitch, by the way, it's not just that he's saying that if you already had it, go out there because I'm gonna pretend that you're definitely safe, when there have been instances of people getting it for a second time. They might have absolute immunity forever. They might have relative immunity, like a resistance to it forever. They might have a total or relative immunity for a little while. We don't know for sure, but Rand Paul isn't gonna let that stop him from telling you to go out there. But even in that advice, he said, and the relative immunity that kids might have, he's saying they should go out there. He's not even saying in that they're immune, but they might be, and that would be nice. So, go get them some chicken nuggets. Come on, go put them in the restaurant. But anyway, he can pretend like this isn't serious, and certainly he's not gonna treat it in a serious fashion, but it is 100% serious. Yesterday's COVID tracking project report, we had 151,000 cases, the highest ever. And I understand that you might think, wait, but didn't you say that yesterday? And the day before that, and the day before that? Yeah, that's because all this week we've been breaking records. 67,000 people hospitalized, a death toll above 1,100. Or in the words of the greatest political and philosophical, indeed every way thinkers of our times, like Dave Rubin, can we all admit that the pandemic is over now? Like, at least give us that as you peddle the rest of this nonsense. Yeah, it's not over. Not over at all.
Sir,
lots of people are dying.
You peddle the rest of this nonsense. The thing about, and I tweeted this, but like knowing Dave Rubin, let me just give you an idea of what it's like to have a conversation with Dave Rubin. There's no there. There is no this, there. He's just this empty, I wanna be popular some way, in him. And it's like, so tell me about your thoughts. And it's everything is, and there's certain people you get on panels with who realize while they're on the panel that they know less about something than you. So all they do is look into your eyes and start talking and steer based on your reaction to it. And that's every time I had Dave Rubin on a panel with me. He would start talking and say like, well, historically speaking, you can, and I'd just go like this, and he'd be like, well, sometimes you can. And that's what it was like. And you're just like, I'm waiting for you to make a statement so I can react to it. And that's me just listening. I'm just listening, and I'm proving I'm listening by reacting. But now I feel like I'm talking with my face through you. It's like the weirdest, crappiest ventriloquist act that you've ever seen.
I think you should be complimented by that, because he was just lost in the night sky looking to navigate, and your face was Rudolph's nose for him. It was that's all he can see.
I'll tell you who else does it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Jimmy Dore, when he's on a panel with Cenk, it's just question time, like 100%. That's where I first noticed it, and then I saw it in Dave Rubin. Like, it's just, listen, when they're by themselves, they go. And then people who aren't in the room with them listen to it and go, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's what you see in this tweet here. That's him misunderstand. Like, even people on his side are like, if they were in the room, they'd be like, that is not what we're saying. He just has this sad, dead-eyed expression when he realizes what he just said. Like, that's what happens when Dave Rubin communicates. It's so depressing.
Look, you're 100% right, and we could clearly go on. I questioned whether I should put the tweet in because I knew it would lead us on a tangent. Look, he's awful. It's for money. It's complete grift. There's no one who's ever grifted as hard as he is grifting. So congratulations to him. But anyway, Rand Paul is a senator. He is supposed to be at least pretending to take this seriously, especially in the absence of any leadership by the White House. They're just done. They're done. All of them. Trump by not caring, Mike Pence by being willing to go on a vacation during all this, Rand Paul with his throw out your masks. If you were wondering what a herd immunity strategy would look like, this is what it is. Just do whatever and we'll see what happens. And as the numbers go up, we're not gonna acknowledge it. That's what this is. This is the herd mentality at play. So frustrating. It's so frustrating. And they're just pretending 151,000 people got it in one day. Not have it, like millions of people have it right now and are struggling with it. 151,000 in one day. And we're just hoping and praying that that is the highest number. Every day we see the number and we go, dear God, that's insane. And the next step is, please God, let tomorrow not be worse. That's what we're in right now. Or if you're being paid by right-wing billionaires, it's over, I guess. It's nonsense, really. Anyway, okay, let's move right on to a little bit more COVID-related news. Here's some news that's gonna shock you. On the first Caribbean cruise ship in months, people got COVID. At least 5 people who were aboard it tested positive for COVID-19 because we're in a pandemic and it's a cruise ship. Most people don't know this, but it's something baked into the design of a cruise ship. If you put a cruise ship to sea with literally no people on it, it will spontaneously develop herpes. Disease just festers on cruise ships. And they went on a cruise. This is how we started. I'm pretty sure that the person who ate that bat or whatever was on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. And I hope that they're fine. I hope that everybody ends up okay. We'll have a little bit, I mean, look, they do look fun, I will admit it. But as I was saying in our Slack, at some point, you just want to be seasick so bad that the threat of dying from COVID isn't enough to scare you off. You just desperately have to eat bad shrimp and be seasick.
So the idea of a cruise ship is it's for idiots. Like that's what it is. A cruise ship is like, hey, do you want shrimp? You open, yes, maw. They throw it into your maw. And then it's like, hey, do you want drinks? Yep, maw. Throw it into your maw. They're like, hey, do you want us to put you in a bus and take you around to like, King Midas's castle? Yeah. And then they're like, okay, come here. It's so that you don't have to plan anything. And it's just a bunch of people named Kippy saying, hey, do you want to do this right now? And you go, yeah, sure. And here's the thing, like the people who don't do it, like you hear all the time, all you have to do is be back at the ship by 6. And every cruise, there's like 20 people who are like, I don't even know what time it was.
So look, all of what you just said is true. All of that said, I think it sounds really cool. I want to do it. I want to go. I'm not going to because it's a pandemic, people, but it sounds great. I want to go on one of the big ones where like they put a Ferris wheel on it for some reason. Like it doesn't have to have a Ferris wheel. You're going to places that have Ferris wheels, but I want that.
I just said that cruises are for idiots, okay? I love cruises with all my heart for all the reasons I just outlined. Because I love just going shrimp.
Yeah, I have a maw and I want things in it. That's me. That's my Twitter bio. And it cannot be misinterpreted. Your wife, by the way, left a comment on Twitch that says limbo contest though. Yes, limbo is very important, but it might be limbo and a disease. So let me give you a little bit more information.
Cruises are the best because it's all Speedos where you're sitting in a banana chair, like sitting there, like having a good time, and next to you, the entire family stands up, and it's just their penises like this. It's just that's the direction penises go in Speedos, and it's like, and you're sitting there in your banana chair, look like as they stand up, it's just like their bananas right there.
Okay, well, that's disgusting. I want to give you a little bit of information. This was on the Sea Dream 1, and if you're listening to the podcast, it's SEA. The C does not stand for the C that he was just talking about or COVID. The Sea Dream 1 is the first cruise vessel to begin sailing in the Caribbean since March. And what do you know? It only took the first for this obvious, horrible idea to fail. The captain announced that the passenger aboard Sea Dream 1 tested positive on a preliminary basis. They would not define what that means. I assume it means they have COVID, but 5 people apparently did. Every passenger on board had to test negative for the virus several days prior to boarding, and again on the day of boarding. But that wasn't enough because again, it's a pandemic. Another round of testing was conducted after this turned out. There were 53 passengers, 66 crew members. So hopefully it was just constrained to those 5 people. But again, it's on a cruise ship, which is basically just a lightly bobbing petri dish.
I love it. They're so good
on a cruise ship, man.
You get a badge that's like, fill this drink up. This says I have a drink pack. Fill it up.
Sounds good.
And then everyone just like they don't get the drink package. They get like a 5-liter bottle of like Poland Springs, pour it out, fill it up with vodka. Like, oh, this is just water. And everyone in like the baggage check when you come in is like, sure, it's just water. I don't actually care.
I have nothing to do with this. Don't care at all.
Oh, yeah, so good. I love cruises, man. It's planning a trip without planning a trip.
Which I mean, that's why I'm friends with your wife. Just plan trips for me, please. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. But anyway,
go traveling with John when he's hurt his ankle recently on a largely walking trip of Amsterdam. It is.
We had fun.
We did have fun.
Anyway, Glitteriest Dragon on Twitch says, "I bet the tickets were extremely affordable." That's true. That's probably why. Anyway, okay, really fast, just a couple comments. We do have other news to get to. Super Solutions gifting another sub. Thank you for that. Let's see. Jess freaking Ortega yelling, "Husband, are you here?" And apparently Zombie Punk is Jess freaking Ortega's husband. So we're learning new things today. A broken demo disc says Brett totally has bedhead.
That's do funny. I did my hair, not even kidding.
Bogu says, don't forget he pardoned Rod Blagojevich. That's a good point, actually. I forgot about that one. Anyway, okay, so really fast. Rachel Rhodes over on Super Chat says, does anybody else find it odd that Trump is the only person to still call into cable shows and not FaceTime or something? 100% of the interviews. Yeah, why? He's got an iPhone or whatever. It's got a good camera. Why doesn't he appear? It's weird to just call.
I would I would donate to the Trump Legal Fund for him to FaceTime in on his iPhone.
Okay, it would totally be vertical. He'd pull a jank. May Money into Building said to the super chat saying, I am so confused by the news nowadays, and I don't know if I'm stupid or the news is. I know. Rest assured, I know. I do know that Brett needs to comb his hair. Sup, John? Happy Friday from the Witch Queen of Oakland Dragon. Thank you for owning Brett. And
thanks, Brandon.
Nick Bonsanto. Wait, what did he cut to you?
Just cutting to me.
It's not enough that the super chats own Brett. The director wants to get in on it too.
I'm crying.
Oh my God. Somebody predicted that if he were to turn on his FaceTime by accident, he'd be doing the Don Jr. angle where it's like resting, please, hopefully on his stomach. Anyway, Nick Bonsanto says, I'm a longtime viewer of TDR 2IT, first time in chat. You're my favorite perspective on the news. I always wanted you to have your own show. I love TDR. I applaud your dedication to truth in our hell world. Nick, that is just about the nicest thing I've ever heard. Thank you so much for that. Okay, with that, we have one other big story to get to before we launch our garbage into space. So let's do it. The day before the election, I did a live video about Alex Jones, which isn't normally how I like to spend my morning, but I had to because he had on the leader of the domestic terrorist group, the Oathkeepers. And they were saying that in theory, they're gonna have people deployed around the country to do stuff if they need to. If there's problems at the polls and stuff like that, they've got people with guns that are gonna take care of it. They are desperate to begin massacring people. And it turns out that Donald Trump, having lost, is only making them more eager for the fight. So Alex Jones, who is continuing to have on a guy who is promising to commit terror attacks, and somehow that's okay, you can just do that. It's not a problem. The FBI doesn't seem to care. He had him on again, and here is what the leader of the Oathkeepers said.
I just see it happening, and we're there to support it. So what we're doing is we have men already stationed outside DC as a nuclear option. In case they attempt to remove the president illegally, we will step in and stop it. And we're going to be there to also help secure the coming rally this Saturday and your caravan coming in. So I've got good men on the ground already. Did a leaders recon there last week, and we're sorting out where we're going to be staging, and we'll be there. We'll be inside DC. We'll also be on the outside of DC armed, prepared to go in if the president calls us.
Stuart, can you not feel history happening right now? I mean, it's happening right now.
It is, and we all need to realize that we're Americans. We're born in this country at this time for this purpose. We need to let go of the fear, you know?
Okay, so just really fast, let's notice that as they're talking about we're Americans, we're born in this country, need to let go of fear. Alex Jones is standing in front of a gigantic Statue of Liberty. Not a big fan of immigrants. Anyway, okay, so they've got people stationed, good men. Fact check, they're not good men. Arguably not men, but they're certainly not good. And they're ready if this election is stolen from Donald Trump, which they define as him losing. They're ready to go in there. And he's previously, in his other appearances on the show, he's talked about how Democratic leaders are already terrorists because they're working with the enemy. So they're ready to take out the command and control of the enemy. So they're going to assassinate Democratic leadership. He has been openly saying this for literally weeks now, and he is continuing to. That's your Oathkeepers.
I just thought about this. He's got one eye but two glasses. I feel like you really missed a chance for a monocle here. So few people get to use monocles, but you don't.
Right. Thank you,
I feel like
Brad.
there's too many accessories. Like if you spent, I feel like they should get I wonder if those are both prescription. I'm just saying, get LASIK, man.
Okay.
Because you have the badass eye patch thing. I feel like you're missing a chance to be a badass. It reminds me of Zach Galifianakis' character, who's the pretentious illiterate, who's like, it's like I told you, I can't read. Like,
okay, that's good. Anyway, we have a group of white supremacists who are very well armed, who are saying that in theory they're ready to protect the caravan, which I don't think anyone in DC has any interest in interacting with. And by the way, if you don't know what they're talking about here, they're gonna have this caravan of InfoWars supporters who are gonna hold an event on November 14th, so that's coming up this weekend. The InfoWars contingent is one of several far-right groups that say that they'll have a rally in the city to support Trump. They've been doing recon in DC. Again, remember, this isn't an actual war, this is a cosplay war. So I assume that means they drove around DC. It's just DC, like what are you doing recon on? But honestly, let's engage seriously with that thought. What would they be doing recon on? Obviously, they're not just like seeing the sights. They're not going to visit the Washington Memorial. So they are looking for things that might be a problem for them when they try to massacre people. And so to the police of DC, the Secret Service, anyone who's protecting the president, understand that they theoretically think that you might be part of a plot to take the presidency away from Donald Trump. So sure, he'd love to kill civilians and he'd love to kill Democrats, but if you get in the way, you're the people that he's talking about killing there. And again, they can just do this day after day. He is saying he's going to murder these people and that he has people on the ground ready to go to murder these people. And people are asking in the chat, are they gonna get in trouble? No, apparently they're not. Apparently you can just do this. You can just say, I'm gonna kill this person and this person, we're gonna wipe out these people, and it's totally fine. You can just do that.
Well, General Mark Milley came out and said, listen, everyone, I hate that I have to like read the tea leaves on what he's implying here, but that's how it used to be. And hopefully I can read it the way I used to read tea leaves. But he goes, we in the military do not swear an oath to a king or a country or a president. We swear an oath to the Constitution. So we're gonna uphold that. And everyone thinks that that's a signal that, listen, no matter what happens, if we recognize what the result of the election is, Trump's gonna be on his way out and we're gonna respect the constitutional process that ushers him out. And good luck to all these schmucks out there following One-Eyed Willie who are gonna go in and try to fight against the military. Not to mention like the 90% of people in DC who voted for Biden. But
I think it was 95.
95% who voted for Biden in our 51st state.
Yeah, so look, here, what I'm worried about is them, a couple of their unhinged, out of their mind followers killing some civilians, trying to assassinate a politician. That's what I'm worried about. In theory though, what he should be worried about is that if they ever do any of this, literally every single one of them is going to be killed. I'm sure you think you're really badass with your gun or whatever. They're gonna wipe you out so easily, you goddamn moron. Cosplay's fun. Reality, not so much. I might wear a sword and pretend to be an elf. I'm not actually gonna try to fight the Balrog. That wouldn't go well for me. And that's what they seem desperate to be murdered by the FBI, the Secret Service, the National Guard, and all of that. But anyway, and also, you know what? This is one of the reasons why I am so done with Joe Rogan. I know that he's really popular or whatever, He keeps having Alex Jones on. Alex Jones's platform is where he brings on people who are about to commit massacres and terror attacks and just talks about how it's so historic. Don't you love being part of history? And he's done that for weeks now. And then Joe Rogan will have him back on. They'll have a fun chat. Maybe they'll smoke weed or something. That's cool. Anyway, okay. We're gonna have to see what happens this weekend. They're gonna get more desperate because Donald Trump is not going to be president, and a lot of these people are not mentally or emotionally prepared for that to happen.
So the question is, what happens, John? What happens? So here are your options. One, Trump denies that he loses forever, and his sons take over the Republican Party. And they try to use that to keep a united Republican far right party in a coalition intact. Two, the option is Trump loses. People look around and go like, oh my God, he actually did lose. And Trump's minions kind of try to find someone else to hang on to, but there is no Mance Raider style uniter of the weirdos like Trump, and they all just kind of disappear into the ether. What do you think happens?
I don't think that the vast majority will ever accept that Trump actually lost. And I know that really fast, I know that some people will say that, but that's how it always is. People never accepted that they actually lost fair and square. That's not true. That's not true. And we get attacked sometimes for acknowledging it, like acknowledging when people we support in primaries don't win. People don't like that. They want to keep living the dream. But even like they'll say, well, 2016, I mean, Hillary Clinton, she still whines all the time. Yeah, she does. She's still really mad about it. And she conceded the next day. And I know some people think that we went hysterical and lost our mind about the 2016 election. When did anyone ever say Trump didn't win? We didn't. We might say it's dumb that the Electoral College exists. We might say we're identifying things that influence people's votes, but nobody tried to claim that the election was stolen in terms of votes being crossed out or deleted, or Dominion did this, or they found there was a Biden-Harris van. That nobody said any of that stuff. We said it's awful, it's horrendous that he's president. We didn't say he's not president, he didn't win. We can say it's fundamentally anti-democratic to have the popular vote winner not win. That is not the same thing as what they're doing. And I do not think they will ever accept it. I don't think Donald Trump will ever tweet, I tried my best, but Biden beat me. That's just not going to happen. And that means that minimum 50 million people or so will literally never accept that Joe Biden legitimately won this and that it wasn't even close.
Yeah, I get it. And I think there is definitely a play to be made by the progressive side of the aisle to say, listen, establishment Democrats who thought that, who used the word Russia to be equivalent with an excuse for not appropriately messaging to people on Facebook, and fix it. Stop disenfranchising stop blacklisting, primarily Facebook-oriented groups that can launch successful marketing campaigns online, and do that. And then you go back to the people in Trump's circle who earnestly just want a $15 an hour minimum wage, or the people who voted for Trump not for any race reasons. I can never reach out to them. I'm never gonna get that. But I'm sure there are people out there who are like, listen, I just want food on the table. I hate everyone that's in the establishment, and just say, hey, I'm with you. I'm just gonna send you just what if we advocated so you have healthcare and we stop giving huge handouts to major corporations and start giving that to which you are entitled as a human being to you.
Yeah. You know what, Brett? There's been a lot of garbage. I think it's time for us to take out the garbage. Did we decide who's going first? Are we ever going to decide that before we're about to launch?
You go. Yeah, no. You go.
I don't know if we might have the same thing. I don't know, but
we don't.
Okay, we're gonna see. Okay, is the director ready? I didn't give you much notice, but is his mouth working? His mouth. His mouth is full. Okay, everybody, it's been a long week, and now it's time to take out the trash. Oh my God, the chat has blown up with those garbage people emojis. So my garbage is going to be this robot doing a bad job of trying to pass for human. Mark Zuckerberg. You want to know what the human species is? We chose that this guy should be one of the most powerful people in history. We did that. But why? Why? Not just for all the normal reasons, and certainly on any given week, there's a good case for him to be in there. No, it has to do with Steve Bannon. And when just a couple of weeks ago, Steve Bannon on his podcast said this.
And that's the second term. Second term kicks off with firing Wray, firing Fauci. Now, I actually want to go a step farther, but I realize the president is a kind-hearted man and a good man. I'd actually like to go back to the old times of Tudor England. I'd put the heads on pikes, right? I'd put them at the two corners of the White House as a warning to federal bureaucrats. You either get with the program or you're gone. Time to stop playing games. Blow it all out.
Okay, Steve Bannon, who is not just a regular right-wing blowhard of the YouTube variety or the Fox News, or the OANN or whatever. He was very closely tied to Trump, still pops up on the radar, very influential Republican, is saying that the head of the FBI and Dr. Fauci, for some reason, should be executed and beheaded. That is what he is advising the president to do. And that wasn't enough for him to get in trouble with Facebook. Zuckerberg, who had an all hands meeting recently, told Facebook staffers that Steve Bannon had not violated enough of the company's policies to justify his suspension from the platform, saying, quote, "We have specific rules around how many times you need to violate certain policies before we will deactivate your account completely. While the offenses here, I think, came close to crossing that line, they clearly did not cross the line. So it's not enough to call for public officials to be murdered and beheaded. You got to do it a couple more times. How many times? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's see as it keeps happening. What?
This is the logic at play here, just from a computer programmer standpoint, because that's what he is so stupid. His logic, if applied to the American criminal system, would be you need to break laws enough times for us to put you in jail, not severe crimes. That's what we all use, and there are some ways where it's like recidivism. It affects recidivism rate affects how much we put you away for. There is a way that we factor that in, but man, it's not how many times. There are plenty of ways you can violate terms of service or laws where we look around and say, okay, that's enough. That one was a big enough transgression. So whether his logic applies accurately to Biden, to Bannon or not, I'm just saying, like, when this is what I get frustrated with from major tech companies, is when the people that, as you say, we trust to be the big, huge influencers in the world, his logic says that the only factor is frequency of violation of terms of service, and does not take into account severity of violation. And that's just so damn stupid.
Yeah, well, and also probably not real. I agree with you, severity matters. I think we could have the meth principle, Steve Bannon calling for beheadings, not even once. I think we can all agree on that, but that's not what this is. Any random person who had done that would have had their account suspended. They do take into account severity, but we also have to take into account how severely attached they are to the right and how protective they are of the right's interests. And this is not the first bit of information about this. I mean, we did stories over the past few months about the fact that whistleblowers have shown that the constant lying and misinformation that would normally get you flagged, when it comes to people like Diamond and Silk, the top level management of Facebook would step in and say, no, we're not going to give them a strike. We're going to let it pass because of who they are, because of what they believe, and the fact that they'll complain and say that they're being mean to the right if they were to ban them. And it is possible to. Twitter banned Bannon as a result of exactly the video that we just showed you there, but not Facebook, because Facebook has Mark Zuckerberg. And whether it's because of like complete weakness and lack of humanity, or indeed because he explicitly aligns himself, even in his own mind, with the right, they are always going to go easier on them.
That's so, yeah. I get it. And it's if I were to offer advice to Facebook, is like you're becoming the Yahoo. Like Google was the cool one, Facebook was the cool one, Yahoo was the one that like catered to grandparents and used that, and their executives were always just a little out of touch and weird about stuff. And you were like, I just don't think that they're making the right decisions right now. And Facebook is, to me, becoming the Yahoo. They're catering to a certain population that it makes them feel like they're out of touch. And what's frustrating with that is I do believe that that's how Facebook is right now, but the Democratic establishment isn't acknowledging that and isn't acting accordingly. If you said like, yo, you want the same people who use Yahoo Mail, they'd be like, yes, that is our bread and butter. So why aren't you going after them there? Do it. That's who's using it. I saw there's like a shower thought that was trending on Reddit today that was like, as older people misuse the internet, the idea of parental control takes on a completely different meaning. And that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, and my final point is, look, he's not a garbage person just because of this. That is bad enough. It is that, as we were just talking about, we're in a time when there are a lot of crazy, violent people. We have leadership with conspiracy theories that have laid the groundwork for the utter demonization and dehumanization of more and more Americans, and Republican leaders that are at least willing to give a wink and a nudge to these theories. We have people who are on the precipice and have already committed acts of terror and acts that have been foiled, thankfully, at the last minute. And Facebook is telling us, no, if you make these sorts of threats, be powerful. If you're powerful, it'll be okay. We're not gonna put you in any sort of trouble as a result of that. And by the way, someone in the Twitch chat, Global Astro says, proof of the point, David Pakman apparently got demonetized for discussing that Bannon clip, but Bannon didn't get banned. That I didn't know that, but if that is true, that is an amazing demonstration of how much they cater the right wing.
We had to pull the clip itself out of our, the Young Turks channel video before we posted it, because between when we shot it and when we uploaded it, it got banned. And they use, and so and there's a lot of like things that are maybe practical, but definitely don't hold logically. Like they do content ID software. So if you use, even though legally your claim would hold up to be able to use certain content, frequently these channels, they basically say you're using it at all. You're using a clip at all. You are just as bad as the person who made the clip. When obviously the news uses clips all the time to discuss things in the zeitgeist. But to avoid it, because we know how clunky their systems are, we just pulled it out and put up a slate saying like, this got banned by YouTube, take our word for it. He said to decapitate 2 people.
Exactly.
And it's sad too, because I just want to say like his set, he has like a where's Hunter thing where we saw Hunter, we know where he is. And then if you look over Bannon's shoulder on his TV screen, he doesn't even have like a monitor with his logo or anything on it. It's like up next, Antebellum Man is there, and the Good Doctor is up next. Hit OK to discover more. Do you want to watch the good?
A TV?
He was just watching TV. This is your show, man.
I mean, that's supposed to appeal to, I guess,
like
Donald Trump.
What if over your shoulder was like, up next, House for the 700th time, John? Would you like to know more?
No, it's just like it's like paused on the DVD menu of signs.
Everyone,
like it has nothing to do with anything.
Everyone's just watching for the DVD logo to hit the corner the whole time.
Oh, I gotta do that. No, your wife would lose it. Anyway, okay, your turn. Who you got?
All right, here we go. My wife. My garbage person is a man named Dean Flamp von Houten III. We have a photo of him. This is Flamp von Houten III. He is the dean of the Electoral College, and he is a garbage person. He's been the dean for 200-something years, and he hasn't changed the curriculum whatsoever. There is no need for Dean Flamp von Houten to still be in charge of the Electoral College because the Electoral College is stupid. Let me take you through the Electoral College's math curriculum. Here is 2 totals: 7.77,509,510. So a spread of 5 million votes is still a toss-up. Even though, and we counted all the votes, we have this many votes. The number of outstanding votes to be counted is less than 5 million. But still somehow the math doesn't fully check out yet. We're not quite certain. And the way that they do, just in terms of the civics that you need to understand at the Electoral College to graduate, John Roberts of Fox News said, the anger out there in these red states is so deep, so palpable that GOP legislators may have a difficult time seating Biden electors. Here's something stupid. If your state voted for Biden, you're not a red state anymore. The only reason you could be a red state is because you've been gerrymandered so hard due to a bunch of other legacy things that are tangentially related to the Electoral College, if not specifically, then thematically, to say the least. That doesn't make sense either. Jonathan Larson wrote about like some processes in place that if you really want to read a scary ass thing in the at TYT Investigates, here's an excerpt. There's nothing stopping the Republican-controlled state legislatures from sending their own slates of electors. There's no law saying they can do that, but there's no law saying they can't basically disregard the results of a vote. Like, this is the stuff that's so terrifying. It's like when you really look at the Second Amendment, it's for people like the Oathkeepers. It's not for people who just want a gun around the house to defend against criminals who break in. Like, that's the scary part, where like every person in their right mind would say, you know what? It was a long time ago when they designed the Constitution, and there were a lot of practicalities that involved horses and buggies and lack of television and even radio that made it difficult to really communicate a lot of stuff. All of that has been remedied, yet the Electoral College and Dean Flamp Van Houten III still hasn't really come around yet. No, we're gonna keep it the same way. Guys, he's dead. He died a long time ago. They just put glasses on him and updated his wardrobe. And rather than have an easel that he is at to, like one of those student desks that you used to have a drafting board, they just got a new bamboo-based tablet to set it up against. It doesn't make sense. And even people like Lindsey Graham and those in Trump's orbit who are advocating for basically doing an end run around what we've at least come to collectively interpret as the norms for governing how you apply the principles of the Electoral College. They, in saying they want to disregard who the elector should be and put in other ones, means they want to abolish the Electoral College too. And they're looking for things that are loopholes. No one likes it. No one likes it. John, you recently tweeted like the popular vote isn't enough, the electoral vote isn't enough. What is the other framework that we're going to run to try to keep some kind of balance and power that is remotely reflective of the general voting population of America? And the answer, I know you're being rhetorical, but the answer is something even harder to secure, which is 2 senators from the state of Georgia. That's where we're at, and that's how they've successfully been able to guide it. And we need to take some time to look in the mirror, get those Senate seats, which I think is gonna be real, real rough. It's gonna be Lindsey Graham, Jamie Harrison rough. And then we need to reevaluate, and we need to find a way to at least make, if not delete the Electoral College, if the Senate is still a nightmare, we need to find a way to keep it, to keep the way that our government works at least moderately reflective of what most people in that country want.
Which clearly now it does not. Great garbage person, makes all the sense in the world. To those right wingers who are tweeting, oh, let's see if they still want to get rid of the Electoral College now. I have a simple answer. Yeah, no, let's get rid of it. They won't, I'm sure. Nothing's gonna happen, but they definitely should still get rid of it. Us winning in the Electoral College doesn't mean it's not stupid still. It is. I totally agree with you there. By the way, that thing about the Republican legislatures being scared of these people so that they'll flip over the votes. Think about that. That they are more scared of right wingers who are angry that Trump lost than they are of what the majority who voted blue will feel like when their votes are nullified. Isn't that amazing? Dude, but that's how things function here.
Oh, all the time. I remember when I first started working on your show, there was the main ranked choice voting issue where it's not like frequently you elect your representatives and you're like, come on, representatives, do that thing I want. And it's like, well, I'm trying to interpret what you want. And then you have a referendum where it's like, no, this is exactly what I want, ranked choice voting. And then the legislature was like, no, let me tell you what's good for you. Same thing happened in Florida with referendum on people who have repaid their debt to society to vote again. And the legislature's like, it's fine. I'm just gonna say no to you. How many times does it take? We just want something that's moderately representative of what we want.
Exactly. So Flamp Van Houten is yours. Mark Zuckerberg is mine. But what does the Dragon Squad think? Well, they chose a garbage person this week by going to the community tab at the YouTube channel and voting. And I'm gonna go from 5th place up to 1st this week. We have 5th place. Matt Gaetz got 2% of the vote for being a creepy tool, so that's fun. In 4th, we have GSA Administrator Emily Murphy for holding up the transition. Fun part about that is that I now know who the administrator of the GSA is. That got 11% of the vote. Bill Barr is at 13% in 3rd for turning the DOJ into Trump's personal law firm in terms of launching that investigation of voter fraud that he knows damn well didn't happen. In 2nd place, GOP members of Congress for refusing to accept Biden's win. They got 27% of the vote. But we're giving the garbage person of the week for the TDR community and Dragon Squad to Mike Pompeo, who got 46% of the vote for his 2nd Trump administration comments. Although really that's kind of like the second one. It's Republicans who are going along with it. And honestly, many of them are going to experience something that Trump defenders inevitably experience. It is defending the president until finally he throws you under the bus by changing his position on something without letting you know first. Trump will concede he'll let them go all out saying that the election should be nullified and all that, and then he'll just concede and they'll look like idiots because they are for following a guy like this. So thank you to everybody who voted and participating in that. This is democracy, okay? I don't care what Flamp Van Houten III says about it. Anyway, Brett, thank you as always. Great to have you here. Can't wait to see what Happy Half Hour and the comment room are gonna be like coming up later today.
Fantastic, thank you everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one. And for all of you at home, let's read a few of your comments and super chats before we close things out. We are running low on time, and I'm going to be speaking with a representative of the Sunrise Movement in just a few. Milne Dunk, that's an interesting one. Bart says today, like every day, they've blown the last post at Uper. I'm not sure about that one, but thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate you watching and sending that in. Songs of Sovereignty says Zuck is still seeing hundreds of Hawaiians to get their ancestral lands. He owns a big chunk of our island. Sickening to know this evil soul sack of skin gets to be on our island home. He is garbage, Opala, we say in Hawaiian. Yeah, that is a terrible story. But thank you for that. Quasita says it's insane to me that Pacman was fully demonetized on Facebook for posting Bannon commentary, but Bannon is approved to remain on the platform 100%. That is absolutely insane. Let's see. Ken Clive says Trump cares more about fake voter fraud instead of a real widespread pandemic. The paddy wagon's showing up on January 20th. Can't wait. Gonna be quite drunk again on that day. S. Ross says, love the show. Today's my birthday and I claim Scorpion Dragon. Well, S. Ross, as a birthday present, it is yours and happy birthday. Cam says, send this to FBI. Domestic terrorists talking about terror attacks and threatening violence. Thanks, John, from the Iron. Thank you for that. I don't know how it's legal. Imagine if I said that. What would happen to me? I don't think I would be okay. Diana Johnson says, need a flaming Dragon Squad shirt saying you're toast, Green Granny Dragon. We've got to get that Green Dragon Squad shirt. How has that not happened yet? British 32 says, hi, John and Brett, love watching TDR from UK. If Don Jr. and Eric take over RNC, will it be like Jon Snow and Ramsay Bolton in Battle of the Bastards to see who's on top? That would be great. It does seem like in these things, Eric just sort of defers to Don Jr. But I'm also seeing in the production doc, I am getting the watch emoji that I've got to wrap things up. So I'm gonna read just one last comment from Bart who says, hey, Oathkeeper dude, it's 2020 and Nick Fury just called me and he wants his eye patch back. You better go to LensCrafters, buddy, and get a monocle. Nick Fury is super freaking pissed and will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger. Good reference there, but I don't want to get in trouble the way Hassan did. So less about that particular aspect, more about him being, apparently desiring to be involved in some sort of massacre. But thank you, Bart, as always. And thank you to everybody who watched not only today, but throughout the week. We've got interviews coming, so definitely check the channel. More content will be coming out over the weekend. And we're gonna see what country awaits us when we reach next Monday. Until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.